I have no shower curtain today.
Okay. Thank you, Falt.
I agree.
Welcome to Garden of the Spirit, a class studying apples from the orchard for the second time, beginning after Pesach 2014. So we're at our 8-year anniversary. This class meets in Long Meadow, Massachusetts, the center of the universe, and is held in memory of Malka Ruth Bas Moshe, Margaret Vogel, of blessed memory. Apples from the Orchard contains selections of teachings of Kabbalah from the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzhak Luria, of blessed, based on the weekly Torah portion, superbly translated and explained by Rabbi Moshe Wisniewski. Okay, we stopped in the middle of the chapter, Bo chapter 2. And we are on page 313. We started with a few questions. Hashem said at the beginning of Bo, "Come to Paro, I have made his heart heavy, the heart of his servants. I may place these signs of mine in his midst." And we asked, why does it say I place these signs, and it doesn't say I place these plagues? Why does it say these? Why doesn't it just say I place the plagues? And why does it say in his midst? It should have said upon him. And we talked about the klipa. We talked about the name of Elokim, and we talked about the three officers of Paro, the minister of drinks, minister of baking, and minister of meat. And those are the three passages of the neck, and how which one each one corresponds to. Paro was familiar with Elokim. He knew this idea of a God who runs the world, a world that runs by a certain order, but he was not familiar with this idea of Havaya. Havaya is like the power station. It is what powers the world. And then Elokim takes that and regulates it and makes it gives it structure so that the world can tolerate this great light. So we are now on page 313 in the middle. No, wrong one.
You didn't send notes, did you?
I did not.
Okay.
Do you want me to?
Later.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I didn't miss them.
All right. It is the throat from where speech emerges. The Egyptian exile was at the level of throat. Therefore, Moshe's speech was affected, being that he redeemed the Jews from Egypt. Moshe stuttered. In his own words, I am a person of blocked lips. The Torah refers to him, and he calls himself Aral Sfasayim, with lips that are blocked. And a pasuk, and similarly, the pasuk in Tillim says, Nichar groni, my throat is parched. This means the throat is not functioning properly. As we said last week, when the throat functions properly, the intellectual messages are transmitted from the head to the emotions of the heart. If the throat is not functioning properly, then something happens along the way. It gets stuffed. It gets blocked through the narrow. That's why the throat and neck are narrower between the head and the body. And so what we say here is that Moshe's speech was affected because he was very involved in the exile and in ending the exile from Egypt, and the exile in Egypt was at the level of throat, which is close to a person's speech. Okay, page 313. Alan, please begin.
Since the exile of Mitzrayim was at the level of the throat from which issues speech, Moshe the Redeemer from this exile had uncircumcised lips and could not talk well. This is the meaning of the verse, my throat is parched, for the throat is parched during its exile. In order to redeem the Jewish people from exile, Moshe had to experience it himself. This he did by being hard of speech.
Thank you. Now, as we did last week, or in the last few weeks, there are going to be a number of dots all around for us to, that we're going to connect. As we said, exile is associated with the name Elohim, which implies a limit on divine light. The 5 letters of Elohim correspond to the 5 states of Gvura. The Gvura within Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, and Hod. The factorial value of 5 is 120, meaning there are 120 combinations of the 5 letters. As I think last time we had factorial value, our mathematicians, our scientists told us that it's 1 times 2 times 3. Factorial value of 5 is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. It's the number plus all earlier, plus all the numbers down to 0, down to 1. You multiply them. But that also means that there are 120 combinations of the 5 letters. So if you have 2 letters, there are 2 ways that they can be arranged. But if you have 3 letters, that there are 6 ways they can be arranged. 4 letters, there are 24 letters, 24 ways that they can be, 24 combinations, and 5 letters, 120 combinations. In math, that's called factorial. 120 is the gematria of the word sail for shadow. Here we're connecting to a new dot. The word sail, tzadik lamed, shadow, is 120. It's possible that shadow is associated with Elohim because both are associated with preventing light from shining. Sail is a shadow. It means that the light doesn't reach there. Elohim also blocks the light or regulates the light. So now we're bringing in the Hebrew word sail. Go ahead, Alan.
Yes. The 5 letters of the name Elohim signify the 5 states of Gevura and produce the 120 permutations in Zeranpin. This number is the numerical value of the word for shadow, seal. The name Elohim is composed of 5 letters. 5 letters permute in 120 ways. 5 factorial, 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 was 120. Sail, tzadik lamed, 90 plus 30, 120.
Okay, now we're going to take another word that looks like, that is close to sail. Sail, shadow, is very close to tselem, image. They both have tzadik lamed, and the mem is added to tselem, which we usually translate as image. The letter mem that's added to that's in the word tselem is a function letter that can be added to a word for a variety of grammatical reasons, perhaps the most of any letter. So mem, sometimes and before a word means from. Sometimes before a word it is, it turns it into a noun. Like katav is write, Michtav with a mem in front is a letter, like you write a letter. Midbar is a wilderness or desert. Zemer is music. Mizmor, beginning, you add the mem to the front. Mizmor is a score or a song. At the end of a word, it also has a number of functions. It could mean them at the end of the word, or their. All right, so that's the difference between them. So you could look at the word tselem and say, well, tselem means image, or tselem could be silam, their shadow. Sel corresponds to the 120 combinations of Elohim of the male side, because we said sel is 120. Selem corresponds to the 120 combinations of Elohim of the female side. But there's also a mem. That's for the first two letters. Sel gives us 120. But the mem at the end would add something. We learned before, a long time ago, that the closed letter mem represents the womb. The womb has two parts called doors that are closed and prevent klipa from siphoning any nourishment from holiness. I don't know what the technical word here. I took two parts of the womb. I don't know if they're valves or something else. And then the descriptions of the parts of the body or the womb are usually found in Talmud. Okay, so go ahead, Alan.
The word for a shadow, tzel, is related to the word for image, tselem. Tselem tzarech lamed mem. Thus, tselem is tzel with the addition of a final mem. This letter usually indicates sealing off, since its form is a closed square.
Go ahead to the next one.
The word for shadow, tzel, signifies these 120 permutations of the names Elohim, which are male in nature. The word for image, tselem, signifies these 120 permutations in their female version. The latter are sealed within Nukba, appearing as two doors, closing her off so that evil cannot derive any sustenance from her. We thus look at the word tselem as the word sel, in essence, with the incidental addition of the final mem.
Okay, 28. The word for shadow tzel appears as plural in Shir Hashirim. The shadows have fled. This refers to the 120 combinations of both male and female. The word for image, tselem, never appears in the plural form because of the final mem. And I'm not sure what that means. It may mean that the mem does not allow for plural, and which would be klipa, to gain nourishment. And very often in holiness, we speak about holiness being unified and one entity, and we talk about klipa as being multiplicity, and that's not a good thing. It means there's a lack of unity. So in this case, it seems that the mem does not allow tselem to become plural, which means that klipa should gain nourishment. Okay, Alan, go ahead. The next one.
The word for shadow, no, I did that. Yes. We therefore find the word for shadow in the plural, as in the verse, the shadows have fled. This refers to the 120 male permutations and the 120 female permutations. But the word for image appears only in the singular, not in the plural, for the final mem is affixed only in the female.
Okay. So that's a dot that we connect to sail, and a shadow, and a dot that we connect for tselem. Why did I write shadow?
Because the shadow knows.
The shadow knows.
In the sense like fish is its own plural, or furniture or equipment, is that the grammatical sense that there is no plural for
No,
image?
there is a plural, but in the Torah, I think it means in the whole Tanakh,
Oh,
we
okay.
never find it used in the plural.
Okay. Which is more significant.
The reason I asked why we Lamont, is it Ned Lamont?
Yeah.
Okay. It should be shade, I think. It doesn't have to shadow. Maybe it's also shadow or shade. When the Torah says that Hashem says, "Let us make man in our image and our likeness," it says "B'salmenu." Okay, that would probably be in our image, not images. Could be it's the same word, same pronunciation for both. Okay. Now, so that's another dot. Next dot, we're going to go to the book of Yonah. The word shadow is also found in the book of Yonah. Hashem prepared towards the end. It was very hot, and Hashem prepared. He left the city. Hashem prepared a kikayon plant to give shade upon his head. The story of Yonah is a metaphor for the journey of the soul into the body. The gematria of Yonah is 71, which is 45 plus 26. 45 is the gematria of Adam, and 26 is the gematria of Havaya. It's not explained here, but it could be that we have that Adam and Havaya merge. The body and the soul join forces when a person is born. That is my understanding. Okay, Alan, go ahead.
This is the mystical meaning of the verse in the book of Yonah. Hashem prepared a kikion plant, and it rose up over Yonah to give shade upon his head. To explain the book of Yonah allegorically describes the descent of the soul into the body. And in fact, we see that the numerical value of the word Yonah, 71, is 45 plus the numerical value of the name Havaya, 26. Yonah, Yod, Vav, Nun, Hey, 10 plus 6 plus 50 plus 5, 71. 26 and 45 is 71. The text does not explain at this point what the significance of the number 45 is in this context.
So I took a stab at it. Now the image, that's Tselem, and three lower parts of the soul, Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama, are contained within the soul, or they comprise the soul. I'm sorry, guys. They comprise the soul. The image enters the body at conception. The three Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama are the three lower parts of the soul, and they're from the bottom up. Nefesh is the lowest, Ruach is second up, and Neshama is the third from the bottom. The Zohar states that if the parents were worthy, they would see the image enter at conception. The level of Nefesh they would see the level of Nefesh enter when the baby is born. They would see the level of Ruach enter when he is 13. And I guess that means when closer to be 12. And the level of Neshama enters when the person turns 20. Okay.
I mean, they would see the image enter at conception. What does that mean?
I think it means that they would see the soul entering, or parts of the soul.
Visually?
If they were worthy.
But how does that happen?
We're not worthy, so we don't know.
What do you mean?
Rarely.
It happens. The question is, we don't see it.
And who sees it doesn't tell.
People
Well,
who
if
are
the parents are
worthy,
worthy,
people who merit. I don't know what the best word is. But
Maybe
the,
maybe the word perceive might even be better.
the Hebrew is see.
See, vision. Okay.
The Hebrew is see. Obviously, it means not just seeing with the naked eye.
Right. Well, that's why I'm talking perceive.
Let's say being aware of,
Being
well,
conscious
that's what
in
I'm
a way.
pointing out.
being as
Okay.
aware as if you would see it.
Okay. That's
Okay.
different.
The point
Okay.
that why they couch it in these terms that they would see it. The main point is that that these stages enter when at all these stages. These
These
parts of the neshama enter at all these stages in a person's life. But obviously there's something there. There's something if they said it that they would be able to see it. There's definitely something for that too.
It may not be something you can see visually, but just something you can actually perceptually feel and just know that it's happening. You know,
Could be.
Could be.
Okay.
Or,
Page
or,
three.
or the other thing that I did not expect that the parts of the soul will be delivered in installments instead of either once you're conceived or once you're born. So it's installments. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. Jim, page 315.
To explain, the soul of a person comprises its image, tselem, and its nefesh, ruach, neshama. As we know, soul comprises 5 levels: nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida. The latter two are the soul's image. In short, the nefesh is the animating soul that enlivens the body. Ruach is the emotions. Neshama is the intellect. Chaya is the will, and Yechida is the divine spark.
Mm.
Okay. We're okay. Go ahead to the next one.
The image enters the body at conception. As we explained in the Zohar, would the father and mother merit, they would be able to see their child's image when they copulate and conceive the child. The nefesh when it's born, the ruach when it turns 13, and the neshama when it turns 20.
Okay. The soul, symbolized by Yonah, descends, enters Zerampin, the father, because Zerampin is male, spheres, goes through the spinal cord and enters the body, symbolized by the ship, and reaches the thighs. The Hebrew word for the hold of the ship is yerech, the same as thigh.
Mhm.
Okay, go ahead.
Jonah, that is the soul, descends from its source, enters Zeranpin, descends via his spinal cord, enters his body, symbolized by the ship, and from there descends to the thighs, represented by the lower parts of the ship. The child's father is the earthly representative of Zeranpin. His mother is the earthly representative of Nipah. The soul's journey through his future father is the process by which the spiritual soul becomes invested in the physical seed. The idiom in Hebrew for lower parts of the ship is the thighs of the ship.
From there, the soul is given to Yesod, symbolized by the large fish, and given to the female. The 3 days and 3 nights Yonah was in the fish correspond to the 3 days it takes the male seed to be absorbed by the womb.
Then it meets the large fish, which is signifying Yesod, which swallows it up, and from there is given to the female. 3 days, 3 nights Jonah was inside the fish correspond to the 3 days it takes for the male seed to be properly absorbed into the womb.
Okay. So we got into Yonah because towards the end of the book, Yonah was in the hot sun and it was unbearable. And Hashem brought a kikayon plant that grew and provided sail, shade, and sail or shadow. And sail is 120. That's how we got into this. The shadow is strength, the states of Gvura. These states of Gvura actually protect the soul from its evil counterpart, the shadow of Klipa. Okay, go ahead, Jim.
This feminine shadow mentioned above is strength, meaning the states of Gevurah, as we explained. These states of Gevurah guard the soul from harm. For opposite this shadow, there's an evil shadow. In this context, the 2 doors, 120 permutations of the name Elohim, sealing off Nukva and protecting it from evil, would perhaps correspond anatomically to the cervix or the labia minora. The evil female shadow refers perhaps to the feminine evil forces that seek to appropriate male seed for themselves. The traditional amulets and inscriptions, Shir Hama'alot, placed around women in and after childbirth, are intended to ward off these evil forces by identifying the woman and her child as allied with holiness.
All right. I should say there's a lot here that's not clear, that the details are fuzzy. I did the best I could. Oh, okay, 34. The Zohar says, as long as Avaya extends, it remains holy and does not change to Klipa. The Gvurot of the name Elohim, however, only remain holy in the 120 combinations of the name. After the 120 combinations, it becomes Elohim Acherim, other gods, like we say in the Shema.
Mm-hmm.
They are called other because they receive nourishment from the back indirectly, in the Bechinas Acharayim, from like over the back, so that whoever gives the nourishment doesn't have to look at them.
Other gods, as in idolatrous gods?
Yes, like idols. But that's what Klipa is. Klipa is known as could be called other gods.
And why would they receive nourishment?
Because they exist. Anything that exists receives nourishment. If not, it wouldn't exist. It couldn't exist.
Yeah, I understand that,
But we said it's indirect. It's convoluted. It takes a convoluted path.
Is there a it's projecting Gevurah as in a positive way here, but isn't there an opposite form of Gevurah that can be negative, from which seeks nourishment? Same way that there can be negative aspects of the Sifrot.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's that's where I think a lot of it comes from. I was just throwing that out. So you need the positive Gevurah. You need positive closing off. Otherwise, you get into the klipo or multiplicity or other gods Acharim, Elohim, all of that.
Yes, true.
And that's what they call maybe evil shadow or something. Okay.
Yes. Again, from here, the details are fuzzy exactly how everything fits in here.
Because there are feminine evil forces in the process that seek to appropriate male seed for themselves, being self-oriented for themselves. So that all ties into the multiplicity, klipo, self, non-connectedness with holiness. That's all.
Anything in matters of relations that are not holy,
Right.
holiness.
Mhm.
So were all these things that we're discussing this evening, were they all created at the same time that Adam Harishon was created? All these aspects of both spiritual worlds.
You're getting technical. Say it again. I'll do the best I can, Rudy. Say it again.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this one. This is like going down so many different corridors. And I'm just trying to
I love to
the
hear you
best of
say
your
that.
knowledge,
I love to hear you say
if
that.
all of these if all these trigger points were created at the same time that Adam Harishon was created, because if when Adam Harishon was created, there was no evil.
So these are great questions. Some of the things that we learn here in the book, in this class, are repeated a number of times.
Yeah.
You see it over and over.
Yeah.
Some things, it comes in and it's once or twice, and there's not so much information on it. Right now, what you're asking, Rudy, is about just the big picture of where Klipa came to be.
Yeah.
And to the best of my knowledge, the best way I can explain it is that in order to create the world, there's Havaya, the power station, and that's just unlimited divine light and unstructured, and it takes the Elohim, which is Gevura of holiness, to provide structure for the light, and to provide structure, to provide that should be regulated, and it should be able that a creation, meaning the top of creation, Atzilus, and all the way down, even our physical world, should exist and not just explode, not just burn up from being overwhelmed by the light. The Klipa did not exist, or Klipa existed only in a holy manner. That is, in order to allow creation to exist. But when Adam and Chava ate from the tree of knowledge, that's when all bets were off. That's when all hell broke loose. That's when the process of creation, the process, the structure that was there, so that the divine light or divine energy can flow into creation and bring the world into existence, that's when it sprung a leak. They fumbled. There was an interception. And Klipa was able to, and suddenly Klipa came into existence. Okay, what he calls here, they keep writing evil. I don't know, I'm not comfortable with that word. I use the word Klipa. Klipa is not really evil by itself. But that being said, when he ate from it, that's when everything broke up?
I don't know. There's something in tohu in the inability to share different parts of the Sephiroth and the breaking of the
Vessels.
husks or vessels at that time. That's there's a sense to me of I don't know what the word is, evil pre the Adam Harish pre Adam and Eve. I know Adam there's a purity there, and it comes purely. It comes out with the snake and the tree and its own consciousness of self. It just there's something in tohu that's. I mean, I do think it's all the creative process, and I think when the question is asked, I think anything in the creative process has to contain the dark and the light and our job is to bring it forth and make a home here, and that means to bring the light forth. So creation itself is a priori got that sense at the same time of good and evil. So I don't know, just throwing that out.
That's an excellent point. I don't have an answer for that. Excellent point. I don't know.
Rudy just went far, and running with this thing. It's explosive. It is something to run with. It's very
Well, the interesting thing is that we've been at this now for 8 years, and God willing, we'll be at it for another 8 years thereafter. And I have to say that after 8 years of going through a process of osmosis and just sucking all this in, I maybe know a little bit of a glimmer more than I knew 8 years. I think what this has done for me, however, is that it's opened my eyes and my mind and my corpus to trying to understand, to the best of my ability, the machinations of our Creator. And that it's really impossible, but I'm trying. And there are times when I just feel like, and I don't know if it's because of our own inabilities and our own lack of insight, but there has to be some insight somewhere to help understand some of these things.
and why we're here, and what's the whole purpose of this being here? What's the mission?
Well, I think that is the question.
That's the bottom question. Yeah. I agree.
And God bless Haimovsky for trying to do his level best in illuminating this.
Yeah. I mean, that's we keep working on it, but it is what it is. and it does get a little bit a little bit brighter. Let me put it that way.
Right.
I agree.
Because the interesting thing is that one could, I guess, the reason for my statement is, a Jew can practice the mitzvot, can learn Torah, mitzvos, and Talmud and everything, and never question about these things. And maybe a Jew who does that is better off than one who tries to understand the complexities and the minutiae of this world. I don't know. Maybe it's like Alice in Wonderland going down the hole, right? I don't know.
We've already had the Kool-Aid. We can't go back. So it is what it is.
Well, I'm drinking it every time we take this class, and it's
know,
feeling
right?
pretty good.
Yeah, I get it. So, well,
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm okay. Okay. I mean, it just, Chaim, it kind of blows my mind that the Zohar would make an accommodation for other gods. I mean, that's just,
It's in the Torah, Rudy.
yes, I know that. I
It
understand
means
that.
idols. Doesn't mean real gods.
Yeah,
Achirim.
well,
Elohim Achirim.
I think it's being very perfunctory. It means other gods. There are other gods beyond, and it's at the degradation of those who accept those other gods. And you cannot tell me that in ancient Egypt, those other gods were alive and well. And a lot of people were sucked into that place, and it still is very powerful today. So Hashem is the creator of everything.
Okay, on one level, it means idols, just things that people
Yeah, okay, one
worship
level.
at one level. On the other hand, at another level, when the people worshipped an icon of wood or stone or metal, they were actually worshiping a force that represents, at least originally.
Yep.
So they would be worshiping, for example, an idol of fertility.
Yeah.
So they could be worshiping an actual power that God gave into creation.
Yep.
For fertility now, or rain, so that food will grow.
Sunlight.
Okay. Now these are forces in nature. Hashem created them. Hashem, runs them, controls them. But the rain is a force, wind is a force. Being fertile is a force, and so they're worshiping those forces. So Elohim Achirim, other gods that people worship, and they make, and one explanation for the word Achirim is that they make themselves foreign to those who worship them. So that the person says, "Answer me, answer me, answer me," and this icon or this force is deaf to their pleadings. So that's one meaning of Achirim. Over here, we have a different idea. Over here, it is Achirim because they belong to Klippa. They receive their nourishment indirectly from what we call behind the back. Is that a force of nature, or the god of war? They're praying to God of war, god of fertility, and all that. I don't know. Could be. The way it's presented, the way they're being worshipped, certainly it's not holiness. And because of that, because of the Klippa, this is why they're called Achirim. If there's any power to them, it's because of Hashem gave them this, if you want to call it a force or ability, this idea to this concept in nature that such and such should take place. Okay, but
and do these forces, and this is a rhetorical question, these forces engage in directives given by Hashem? And
yes.
when these forces are used for destruction?
I don't know. I don't think so. Look, even in Torah, Hashem's called Adonai HaAdonim. He's called the God of gods, or the chief of chiefs. Maybe God is in a good translation. It's called the boss of the bosses.
Big kahuna. Okay.
The what? The big
The
kahuna.
big kahuna.
We have look, we have we learned about Sammy, who's the angel for the archangel for the tribe of Edom. We learned about Tron, who is Hashem appointed Tron to be the manager for the world.
Okay.
So this is all part of creation. You know, God forbid to think about it in the form of something like Greek mythology with jealousy and all these terrible traits. That's not what these it's not in the Jewish idea at all.
But is it fair to say when the world is in tumult like it is now, and I argue has been most of the time in our existence, it's because these Elokim Acherim have been given excessive nourishment and are, for lack of better terminology, allowed to run wild and are moving this tumult along? Is that fair to say? I mean, if the world was lacking in sin, then their nourishment would not be so finite, right? Is that fair to say?
It's a hard question. I'm afraid to say I don't think so. And if there are some things though that I think of that may appear like that, in some ways. But
Certainly, humankind has
you mean that the
humankind.
angel of Russia is at war with the angel of Ukraine? I don't know. Could be.
But humankind has failed to rectify the klipo or the evil around us consistently, and we consistently fail, and all one can really do is attempt to make it holy. That's all we can do. And we see in a societal complex, which I agree, murdering viable children, destroying consciousness of our own people with assimilation and progressive insanity. It just one thing after another. Is we have to stand up against it. We have to stand up against it and be vigilant. I mean, when the State Department can give $1 million to the NGOs of the so-called Palestinian people to bring human rights violations against Israel this week, something's got to change for our own people.
Right.
To be doing this. I'm sorry. It's enough. Mr. Blinken.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, part of the reason why we take this class is to try to give us answers, is to figure out all this stuff, right?
Right.
To the best of our limited abilities. So there's no way of isolating the world around us from our consciousness. And when you witness all the madness that's going on, you have to try to figure it out as to why it's going on. Not that we can potentially prevent it, but at least so that we can prevent ourselves from getting engaged in it, right? So at least for me, and I only speak
we need to have direction.
Right. And that's why one of the reasons why we're taking this class is to get those little secrets that can help us figure things out, because we all cry out for Mashiach, right? Mashiach, I think, would come at that instant where there's a tipping point, right? And that tipping point is where the mitzvot that are performed outweighs the sins that are performed, right? Is that not correct?
Yeah. Yeah, partially.
Okay.
What we're learning here is that Mashiach will come when we purify, when we clarify, we clean up all the sparks, we collect all the sparks and shine them and clean them up. When we cleanse the world of the klipas and with holiness.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's just an awesome undertaking, right? For the few of us that try to do our best in keeping the mitzvot and
We're
bringing
getting
Hashem
there.
to our lives.
We're getting there.
Oh, wow.
Every day we're closer.
Okay.
Okay, from your mouth
And,
to God's ears.
and we got to keep at it. And,
There's no
and
question. Every day we're closer. Every mitzvah we do is another another item in the pile.
Yeah.
But this is, it's important at times like this to have clarity. It's important to look back to see our foundations. It's important to see our values.
Mhm.
And what we've been learning here is about what those foundations are and what the values are. And there's holiness. There is a God who runs the world. There is synchronicity in the world. There is alignment. And when things are out of alignment, they're out of alignment, but to recognize that and to say, this is not good. Whether it's, I didn't hear what you said. I didn't hear in the news, Jim,
Yeah, it's
money to the NGOs.
Yeah, that's in the news, big time now, and there's a resolution in the Senate. Cruz brought it to stop to have Blinken stop this, but
Blinken's grandfather is a survivor of the Holocaust.
I know.
Well, that's usually the case. We are our own worst enemies.
So this is what this is about. It's about
Mhm.
seeing, it's about seeing a vision of the world, which is all about holiness.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Seeing, I mean, look, one thing we've gotten is a whole new perspective on the machinations of the
Mhm.
world.
Right. I mean, my apologies for taking us down the detour, but this one sentence just, or two sentences just really,
Other gods is in the Shema.
Mhm.
oh, but just reading it. I mean, it's one thing when you read it in the Torah and you read it elsewhere, you read it in the Psalms, but now in this class, black on white, in English, within the context of what we're learning, this is pretty awesome. I don't know how else to explain it.
Opposite the shadow, there is an evil shadow. Go from there. Oh, boy.
I'm going to say that when Congress finishes their hearings on UFOs, we can go to the old hearings on Kabbalah. We'll testify.
Yeah. Well, as long as we respond to the hate mongers like Talib this week, we can do something.
Yep. I mean, Chaim, when you think about all the different corridors, this one section of the Sefer is taking us on. I mean, I'm trying to keep track of all these different branches that
Connecting a lot of dots.
traversing over. I mean, this is like mind-boggling just from that one opening question of why it says what it says, right?
Let's continue. Let's see how many more eyes we can get opened here. Okay.
Yep.
Jim, bottom of 315. This explains.
This explains the statement in the Zohar that the more the name Chavai extends, the better, for it always remains holy. This is not the case with the states of Gevurah of the name Elohim, for the limit of holiness is the final of these three 120 permutations of the name Elohim. From that point on is the realm of evil, called other gods, Elohim Acherim. They are called other Acherim because they're derived their sustenance from the back, Achoreim. A certain amount of gevurah or contraction is necessary for the world to exist in its finite form. However, if the force of contraction is allowed to progress beyond its proper limit, divine energy becomes so limited that even evil can derive sustenance from it. As we explained previously, it is especially crucial to guard the female principle from this tendency towards excessive contraction and limitation. Due to its drive to actualize divinity in the material world, the female principle may overestimate the need to allow worldliness to exist. I mean, the whole Gan Eden keeps happening over and over and
Yep.
over. I'm sorry, that's
Yep.
not in there, but it's there. It's
Yep.
the whole thing, the whole apple in the tree. This is an open invitation for the forces of evil to stake their claim. I'm sorry to editorialize, but that's what I just powerfully came there to.
Mhm.
I
Just came-
I will
It's
do my own
Groundhog
pause
Day
here.
all over again.
Yeah.
I will do my own tangent, and I found a letter from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Monday, 9th of Tevis, 1945.
Mm.
In Shalom Ubracha, response to his question, please explain what's written in several places that there are 120 combinations of the name Elokim. Where does this number come from? And what's this idea of combinations? The Rebbe answers that they come from what's explained in, say, the book of Yetzirah, that 2 bricks build 2 houses and 5 build 120, as we explained. Letters, the bricks, I'm sorry, stones are words, are letters, and houses are the words. And
Mhm.
he explains what that is. Every letter of the 22 letters of the Torah has its own unique light, and the shape of the letter shows the shape of the light. And it says, Bereshis bara Elokim es hashamayim v'ha'aretz. Creation was through the name Elokim, with as it is garbed within Havaya. The 5 letters in this name show the 5 stages, the 5 types that the name comes from, the combination, and it's understood that when you change the order of letters, it also changes their function that comes through that name. The rule that's known, the letter that's earlier in the word or in this combination is more dominant than letters that are later on. The name Elokim are the letters Ele, Yam, right? Elokim, Aleph Hey Yud Mem, is Ele and Yam, or me. Ele means these, which is something that you can see when you say these. The last 2 letters, Yud Mem, backwards is me. Me means who, something that's unknown.
Mhm.
So in the combinations of Hashem's name Elokim, if they start with the letters of Aleph or Lamed or even Hey, the first 3 letters, then they are those combinations are more clear, more revealed. The godly light is more revealed, but the functions that occur through combinations that begin with the last 2 letters, it's either Yud or the Mem. These in these combinations, the function is much more hidden. The godly divine light or divine energy is much more hidden. And oh, interesting. The klipa gets its nourishment after the descent and so on, is only from the combinations that begin with Yud or Mem, the last 2 letters.
Hmm.
How many combinations are there? We said that there are 120 altogether, and that means that for combinations that begin with Aleph, there are 24 combinations that begin with Lamed, 24, and so on. Each one has 24 combinations that begin with each letter. So for the Yud and the Mem, there are 48.
48. Mm-hmm.
And we're going to explain this in our thing too. And this was explained. That's what's explained in other places. That says that the nourishment for klipa is from the 48 lower combinations of the name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mhm.
And and this is explained elsewhere, blah, blah, blah. And there's another question here, another two questions that he answers. However, what's special about this letter? Drum roll, please. 1945, it is written to Reb Menachem Mendel Margolis, Shoichet, Holyoke, Massachusetts.
Wow. Wow.
So last summer, I couldn't believe when I saw it. Last summer, Rodfei Shalom had a rededication, and it was open to the public. They had a lot of people. Lou Silver's brother came from Mobile, Alabama,
Mm.
and people came from all over. So I asked around there, and I met this Margolis's. I think niece. I think his niece was there, or nephew, and they're in their 80s.
Hmm.
But I tried to ask them. I see what they know about him.
Hmm.
Forgot his first name. Here it's Menachem Mendel. His first name was, Murray, Marty, some name, Maury. I forgot what it was. And I didn't get too much. I didn't find too much information out about him. That blew my mind.
My goodness.
Small world.
Yeah.
No, there is no such thing as coincidence.
Nope.
No.
Nope. No accidents.
So maybe I should change. Maybe Long Meadow's not center of the universe. Maybe Holyoke is. Okay.
Oh, we finally hear from Mr. Lerman.
Yeah, I heard something there.
That was some kind of a groan.
It was a moan groan.
Okay, let's see if we do a little more till we get the minion here. 34. The Zohar says, did I say this? Yeah. Okay, the father of Mitzrayim
Yeah,
was Chum, the son of Noah.
here we
Of
go.
Noah's three sons, Shem personified Chesed, Chum, which means heat, personified the 5 states of Gvura. I think we better stop here, guys.
This is a whole big. This is. I looked ahead here, boy. This is the 48, man. It's a powerful pack. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, it's like dots. It just connects
It's
dots.
it's gonna explode in a second.
Yeah, I would stop here.
Is next week the 31st? No,
Yes.
31st.
Tuesday.
The Rosh Chodesh, yeah.
Oh, it's Rosh Chodesh too. But I put this in.
Okay, because you just started with the 48, and those last 2 letters of the permutation of the 120.
That's exactly what the Rebbe wrote about in his letter.
My goodness, and then we're going to hit it in a few seconds.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So on to next week. Wow.
Okay. Good night, all. Rudy, if
Good
you want to
night.
run
Good
over,
night.
we're here.
Night.
Take care, everybody.
Good
Great week.
news. When we meet next week, there'll be good news or better news.
Good
or-
news. Gershon, you want to come over?
Jim, how you
Oh, you need me?
Jim?
Uh,
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Better, Alan.
I'm
Better.
half
feel? Are
decent.
you here? You going to Cape?
I'm going to Cape.
I figure as much. Yeah.
I'm going to
Okay.
Cape. I obviously couldn't go. Yeah.